Welcome back to the deep dive. You guys have really outdone yourselves with this reading list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, seriously, a whole stack of articles all about how AI is like evolving at warp speed. And honestly, after I actually sat down and read these things, I'm kind of torn between like crazy excited for the future and also a little bit terrified, you know?
Totally get that. It's a lot to take in.
But that's what we do here. We unpack these big mind-blowing ideas together,
Okay.
right?
Absolutely. Dive right in.
So our mission today, to figure out where AI is headed and, more importantly, what it means for, like, all of us.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so this first article, The Intelligence Age, like, hooked me right from the start. They open with this super bold statement. It is possible that we will have superintelligence in a few thousand days.
Wow. A few thousand days.
That's less than a decade. I mean, when you put it like that, it really hits home just how fast things are changing. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I gotta ask, can you break down what superintelligence even means?
Sure.
Because honestly, right now, it just sounds like straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Well, the article definitely doesn't shy away from those sci-fi comparisons. It actually argues that we're basically on the edge of like a whole new era, what they're calling the intelligence age. And they compare it to like this massive shift in human history.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Go on.
Think about humans going from, say, the Stone Age to the Industrial Age, right? That's the kind of leap they're talking about. But here's the thing. This time it's not about discovering some new tool or, energy source.
It's about intelligence itself.
Exactly. Specifically, artificial intelligence powered by, you guessed it, deep learning.
Okay, there's that buzzword again. Deep learning. We hear it everywhere, but to be totally transparent, I'm still not 100% sure what makes it so revolutionary. Can you maybe, like, break it down for me?
Of course, imagine a computer program,
Right.
But it doesn't just follow instructions. It actually learns from experience, kind of like we do, but on a way bigger scale. These deep learning algorithms can analyze mountains of data, like tons and tons of information, and they start to see patterns, recognizing faces in photos, translating languages. They're even writing different kinds of creative text formats, poems, code.
Wow.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The more data you feed these systems, the better they get. It's like their brains are on this constant learning curve, connecting the dots in ways that, honestly, we could only dream of.
And that's how we eventually get to superintelligence. This article paints a picture of a world where we have, like, personalized AI teams at our fingertips.
It is pretty mind-blowing, isn't it?
Like, imagine a virtual tutor who knows, like, everything about any subject you can think of, available 24/7. Or an AI health consultant who can analyze your weird symptoms and recommend treatment options. Just like that.
The possibilities are pretty incredible when you think about it. But there's a catch.
There's always a catch.
This article really emphasizes that it's not enough to simply develop these like super advanced AI systems. We need to make sure that everyone, and I mean everyone, has access to them.
That's a good point.
Think about it. A world where only the super rich and powerful get to reap the benefits of superintelligence. That doesn't sound like a very bright future to me. Just more of the same inequalities, only amplified. So yeah, the potential upsides are huge, but we absolutely have to be mindful of the ethical implications right from the get-go.
Couldn't agree more. It's not just about the technology itself, right? It's about how it's developed, who controls it, who benefits from it. And speaking of benefits, this article did not hold back on those, did it? I mean, they were talking about some pretty major stuff.
There's a pretty bold vision of the future, that's for sure.
Solving climate change, colonizing space. It almost sounds too good to be true.
Well, remember, we are talking about a level of intelligence that's, by definition, beyond human capabilities. We're talking about a whole different ballgame here, something we can't even fully grasp right now.
So, as exciting as all that sounds, are you saying there are going to be consequences we can't even predict yet?
Absolutely. The article acknowledges that while we might be able to tackle some of humanity's biggest challenges with superintelligence, there are bound to be unforeseen consequences as well.
That's humbling, to say the least. It's a lot to wrap our heads around, for sure.
It really is. And honestly, the article doesn't shy away from some of the more immediate potential downsides either, especially when it comes to jobs and the economy. I mean, if AI can outperform humans in a growing number of tasks, we need to be prepared for some pretty significant shifts in the workforce. That's something we can't ignore.
It is a lot to think about, that's for sure. And it's easy to get caught up in those big what-ifs about superintelligence and forget about the stuff that's already impacting our lives, you know?
I hear you.
Which actually brings us to our next article, which is a bit more, shall we say, down to earth. It's about AI predicting hurricanes.
Oh, right. I was really interested in this one.
Me too. And honestly, the technology they're talking about seems almost as futuristic as, like, super intelligence and all that, even though it's happening right now.
It's pretty amazing stuff. And this article zeroes in on a really cool development, this collaboration between, wait for it, IBM and NASA.
IBM and NASA, dynamic duo. What are they up to?
They're building this new AI climate model, and get this, they're calling it Prithvi WxC.
Prithvi WxC. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. That doesn't really tell me anything. What is it about this Prithvi thing that has everyone so excited? What makes it different from, like, other AI weather models we've heard about? I mean, what about ForecastNet? Wasn't that supposed to be, like, the next big thing in hurricane prediction?
Yeah, so ForecastNet is definitely out there making waves, and it's really good at what it does, which is basically analyzing massive data sets of hurricane simulations to try and forecast future hurricane behavior, right? But Prithvi WxC, this is a different beast altogether.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think of it this way. A lot of existing AI models, ForecastNet included, they're really good at forecasting, right? Predicting what's going to happen based on past data.
Makes sense.
Prithvi WxC, on the other hand, it's designed to be way more than just a forecasting tool. The article calls it a foundation model.
A foundation model. What does that even mean?
Basically, it means it's built to be more adaptable, more versatile. It can tackle a wider range of climate-related tasks, not just predicting the weather.
So it's like instead of just having a weather app on your phone, you've got this like supercomputer dedicated to understanding every aspect of the climate.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, I'm sold on the why, but now I need the how. How does this thing actually work? The article mentioned something about a unique data set they're using.
Right, right. So one of the really cool things about Prithvi WxC is that it's being fed this incredible amount of data called MERA-2 data.
MERA-2. Sounds intense.
It stands for Modern Era Retrospective Analysis for Research and Applications. It's basically a super detailed record of what's been happening in Earth's atmosphere going way back. And it's not just like basic weather data. They're combining actual observations from satellites and weather stations with like really sophisticated simulations.
So they're giving this AI a crash course in Earth's climate history, past and present.
Exactly. And that's what allows Prithvi WxC to learn and adapt in ways that other models haven't been able to. It's like it can see these subtle patterns and connections that we might have totally missed before.
Wow. And that can help us with what exactly?
Well, the possibilities are pretty huge. We could have breakthroughs in understanding things like how hurricanes form, how to predict droughts more accurately, even the long-term effects of climate change. It's a game changer.
It certainly sounds like it. But the article also brought up this really specific example. Hurricane Ida, the one that devastated the Gulf Coast back in 2021. What did Prithvi WxC have to say about that storm? Well, according to the article, Prithvi WxC actually nailed Ida's track, and get this, it's rapid intensification.
Really?
Yeah. And that's something that often throws off those traditional hurricane models, right?
Right, right.
But this thing, this Prithvi WxC, it was even more accurate than existing models, even one specifically designed for hurricane intensity, like ForecastNet.
Yeah, ForecastNet is no slouch when it comes to forecasting. It uses this whole deep learning approach, right? Analyzing tons of hurricane simulations.
But this Prithvi...
What's really wild about Prithvi WxC is how accurate it was, even with those short lead times. I mean, that's huge for something like nowcasting,
Nowcasting. Is that like predicting what a hurricane's going to do in the next couple of hours, even minutes?
Exactly. And that's where it gets really important for people on the ground, like those emergency responders in those coastal communities. They need that up-to-the-minute information to make the right decisions.
Absolutely. Every second counts in those situations.
And the fact that it can use real-time data, like satellite imagery, readings from weather buoys, that just makes those short-term predictions even more powerful. Honestly, this kind of technology has the potential to completely change how we prepare for hurricanes and respond to those kinds of disasters.
Wow. Okay. So we've gone from AI that can help us understand our climate in a whole new way to AI that might actually help us survive it.
It's pretty remarkable stuff.
It really is. Okay. You ready to dive into our last article? This one, I gotta say, feels like something straight out of like a sci-fi thriller.
Oh. Let me guess.
Yeah.
You're talking about the one where AI cracks those CAPTCHA codes.
Bingo. You know those little puzzles that websites use to make sure you're a human and not some bot trying to, like, create a million fake accounts?
Yeah, it seems like even those digital gatekeepers aren't safe from the AI revolution.
It's definitely a thought-provoking one, that's for sure, especially for folks in the cybersecurity world. I mean, for a long time, CAPTCHA, and that stands for Completely Automated Public Turing Test to Tell Computers and Humans Apart, by the way.
Catchy.
I know, right? But yeah, it's been our first line of defense against bots online, this seemingly simple tool. But now,
Now the bots are smarter. The question is, if AI can solve these puzzles that were specifically designed to outsmart them, what's next?
yeah, how did they even pull it off? What kind of AI magic did they have to invent to crack CAPTCHA?
Well, they basically took this image recognition AI called YOLO, stands for You Only Look Once, and tweaked it.
You only look once.
Okay, it's a deep learning algorithm, right?
And it's already gotten really good at, like, identifying objects in images, but they trained it on this massive data set of labeled street scenes.
Street scenes, so like pictures of, what, fire hydrants and stuff?
Exactly. And traffic lights, cars, bicycles, all that stuff you often find in CAPTCH puzzles. And they trained it to the point where it could pick those objects out with almost perfect accuracy, even when the images were blurry or distorted like they often are in CAPTCHs.
So they taught an AI to see those CAPTCH images the way we do. Exactly. To recognize those subtle patterns, even when they're disguised. Pretty impressive, right?
They're a little scary. I mean, what does it even mean for online security if we can't tell humans and bots apart anymore?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Like, are we going to have to start, like, doing personality tests every time we log onto a website?
First, have we already lost? Are the bots already in control and we just don't know it yet?
Okay, let's not spiral. But you're right to raise those questions. This whole CAPTCHA situation highlights just how important it is that we keep evolving our cybersecurity measures. Because as AI gets more sophisticated, we got to stay one step ahead, you know.
So it's like this never-ending game of cat and mouse.
Kind of, yeah. The article suggested we might start seeing more of those behavioral analysis techniques instead of just relying on these visual puzzles.
Okay, so instead of prove you're human by clicking on all the traffic lights, it's going to be prove you're human by doing what exactly?
Well, it could be things like analyzing your mouse movements, how fast you type, maybe even your browsing history. All those subtle things that are way harder for an AI to fake.
So less about what we can see and more about how we act online.
Exactly. But of course, there are still challenges with that, right? Like, how much data is too much data to collect on people, even if it's to keep the bots at bay? It's a tricky balance.
Isn't it always? I feel like every time we take a step forward with technology, we open up this whole new set of ethical questions and challenges.
That's the truth. It's never simple, is it?
Nope. But you know what? That's what makes these deep dives so fascinating, right?
It keeps us on our toes.
We get to explore these mind-blowing technological advances while also, like, acknowledging the very real impact they're going to have on our lives. And on that note, I think we've done our fair share of deep diving for today.
My brain is officially full.
Mine too. But hey, from superintelligence and hurricane predicting AI to CAPTCHA cracking bots, it's safe to say that the future is arriving faster than ever. And the only thing we know for sure is that it's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Understatement of the century.
Thanks for joining us on this wild ride. We'll be back next time with even more fascinating articles and thought-provoking conversations. Until then, stay curious, everyone.